señalaron. Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Siempre. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hacia dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? They know we had to put them on pause for a second and to see if they was really checking us out. I know they like, what's going on, man? Anyway, welcome to the Rise Up International Morning Show. It's important that we say international because sometimes folks get caught up in the colonies. They get caught up in France and the U.S. and all things European. And when we talk about international, we forget about what's going on the continent of Africa, the birthplace of civilization. We forget about what's going on in places like South America, Central America, where those remnants lie. We forget about the diaspora as a whole because we're too busy acting, thinking, walking, talking, looking like Europeans. Anyway, it's going down. Ikemba, how you feeling today, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. You going hard already, man.
Man, listen, man, if it ain't hard, it ain't me. You know what we do around here. You know what I'm saying? We got a little bit too much sensitivity going around here, like a whole bunch of Ralph Tresvants or something. You know what I mean? You got folks running around talking about George Jackson, and they really actors like Sam Jackson. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of confused about what's going on these days. We're going to get it right one way or another. One way or another.
That's a fact. Yeah. Which got me thinking about who's that? Nathaniel here? Is that who wrote the Black Anglo-Saxon? Yeah. Talking about these folks, you know, walking around black skin, but they acting like they from the United Kingdom, man. You know.
Talking about. Yeah.
That's what we dealing with, man. But we're gonna talk about that decolonization too, right? How some of our folks, you know, have been able to do Sankofa, you know, reach back and get, you know, what's rightfully theirs. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation, man.
Well, you know, I'm digging what you're saying in regards to folks going back to Sankofa. I think that the reality of it is, even folks who quote unquote know don't realize that knowing is half the battle. You know what I mean? We got so many folks running around that can talk that talk, but walking that walk is a real hard thing. You know what I'm saying? When they say you got to take baby steps, but some of us been crawling for quite a long time. You know what I mean? And it's time to, turn that up a little bit because it is a situation of war. I'm noticing all over YouTube and social media and have you, and what have you. It's always a lot of bickering and BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody want to yell, everybody pointing fingers, talking crazy and whatnot, talking out the side of their throat. But at the end of the day, these crackers are serving us on a platter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, this government is a criminal establishment, and it's a part of a criminal crime ring with folks like Israel and France and Germany and so many other spaces, Spain, Portugal. We don't want to leave none of you out. So we bring you the Rise Up International Morning Show because we want to make sure that we all on the same side and the right side of the barricades. Today's a special day, though, man. What's happening, man? Give us some Garvey information. Did Garvey do anything good today?
Oh man, most definitely. August 13th has quite important, has a significance to Pan-African struggle, revolutionary struggle, to free ourselves, liberate ourselves from colonialism. Today, August 13th. Well, first of all, from August 1st to August 31st, we had the UNIA convention took place in New York City in 1920.
Mm-hmm.
And 1920, August 13th, Garvey gave us the colors, red, black, and green. And if you go to point number 13, I actually want to go to it, man. I had to pull it up so we can get it right. But point 13, I'm sorry, 39. He said that the colors red, black, and green be the colors of the Negro race. So that was established at the convention at Liberty Hall. So yeah, that's the significance of the day. Anybody who's rocking that red, black, and green, look at the red, black, and green as the colors. It is considered the Pan-African colors, or the colors just for the African nation. That's when it was established. When Garvey gave the Declaration of the Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World. And just quickly, just to go into that document too, is just a few things that really stood out to me outside of just the red, black, and green being established. Right after the preamble, the first point Garvey makes, it says, we complain that nowhere in the world, with few exceptions, are black men accorded equal treatment with white men, although in the same situation and circumstances, but on the contrary, are discriminated against and denied the common rights due to human beings for no other reason than their race and color. And even when you think about that, for their race and color, but it also, what that did is create a permanent underclass, and the African being that permanent underclass, no matter where we are in the world. So, that stood out to me because that's something we're still struggling against, even to this day. He also said, third point, he said the European nations have parceled out among them and taken possession of nearly all of the continent of Africa. And the natives are compelled to surrender their lands to aliens and are treated in most instances like slaves.
Repeat that first part that you just said right there, because I think the folks need to to grasp that when you talk about splitting up the continent, because I think that's a discussion we might want to have later on in the show. But go ahead.
Yes. So he stated that European nations have parceled out among them and taken possession of nearly all of the continent of Africa, and the natives are compelled to surrender their lands to aliens and are treated in most instances like slaves.
Right. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, I want to point out something too, because you mentioned the flag, and as you mentioned, there was a song, a racist song by these clowns Will Heelan and J. Fred Health, and the song was called "Every Race Has a Flag But the Coon."
Right.
And this was like a big hit during the late 1800s, the 1900s, so on and so forth. Matter of fact, I believe it was written in like 1896. But Garvey wanted to change the game, and like you said, on August 13th, 1920, right at Madison Square Garden, 104 years ago today, Garvey gave us the red, black, and green. And of course, for folks who aren't familiar, the red, black, and green colors have significance. You want to talk about that significance, Brother Ikemba?
Yeah, for sure. Red is for the blood that has been shed through the resistance. This is Black August too, so we talking about resistance. So it's not even just the Mayafa, because as far as just the genocide that has been committed, because we wasn't just shedding blood from the killings and sitting passively. I think and just taking it. I think it's important to know, blood shed from our resistance to colonialism and slavery. The green for the land, Mother Africa, and black for our race, African people. And though some people, if you do the history, green initially wasn't for the land, but we ain't gotta get into all that right now, But do we gotta get into it?
I mean, go ahead and give it to him, brother, because the thing is, we might not ever get into it, and I think that folks need to be clear, because people just spit stuff out and don't really research. But go ahead and rock, brother.
Yeah, facts. So green initially represented the Irish struggle that was taking place over in the UK. So their movement for independence. But I do think it shows that even Garvey recognized the struggle of other groups against colonialism around the world. So it wasn't just about Garvey. Some people try to make Garvey out to be this black supremacist, and and I mean, if it depends on how you are looking at race, but Garvey was for power for all people, and not one group exercising power over another group. That's what Garvey was about, right? He wasn't for this sort of system where blacks are on top and whites are at the bottom. He was looking for equality among all groups.
Right, no doubt. And we say salute to Garvey. And we really say salute to that green getting turned into the land for us, because because while we recognize struggles, we must remember to make sure that we are reminded that we are at the forefront of our liberation movement. I think folks get confused, and we want to go help everybody's house but our house. And that's not to say that we're not going to fight for injustice or fight against oppression wherever it stands. As King talked about, he said, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So the reality is, while we get caught up thinking that we're thinking and talk about other people's struggles and make ours secondary just so that we can be politically correct, it's a foolish notion. There's no nation that's going to take care of other people without taking care of themselves first. The only nation that would do such a confusing thing might be the continent of Africa, and those children of the continent that is spread out all over the world, because we've been taught how to be separated, segregated, and damn near devastated. You're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. We got a special guest coming on. Before we go to our guests, we're gonna go to a quick Black Power break. You cool with that, Ikemba? Ikemba's mic's on mute right now. He had to go run and get something real quick so he can be crisp. But it's all good.
Always cool with Black Power, yeah, for sure.
No doubt. We're gonna take a quick break for Black Power. It's Rise Up International Morning Show. Y'all act like y'all know.
about this whole question of violence that's been bandied around. Very clear, should be made very clear that in the Black Panther Party and among all black people, it's not a question of violence, aggressive violence. This is what people mostly think of. It's a question of defending ourselves and our people against the violence that's being waged upon us and has been waged upon us for the past 400 years. A war of aggression is going on against black people, not only on the level of guns, but on the level of housing, on the level of education, on the level of food, on every level of the society. There's aggression, there's hostility, suppression, and violence directed against black people. The program of the Black Panther Party, originally started as the Black Panther Party for self-defense, is to move to defend and protect black people against this violence so that we can move to organize black people into a sufficient power to obtain our needs.
That way. What I would think it would be wise for minority leadership to do would be to seek out and to interpret and to press those points in which there is a common self-interest. Economics, political, housing, things of this sort. Now, I'd like to have her react to that.
All right. First of all, this was the policy of Dr. Martin Luther King. He asked these people to move in their own self-interest. They refused. And secondly, what you're asking is something that's human. And I don't think it's possible for this establishment to react to a human problem in a human way. It's impossible. In terms of self-interest.
You think it's that inhuman?
It is. It's obviously that inhuman to me if you look at its history and what it's doing now. If that is human, then we're something else. So I have to assume that they're non-human. In terms of self-interest, it's a question of whose self-interest. There are masses and masses and masses of white people who would agree with you on that point. But these white people do not have any power, they do not have any say, they do not have any control. And the self-interests of the people who are in charge are not those of human beings. They're mainly based on money and power. You see, if these people would move in their self-interest, they wouldn't beat their own children in Chicago and crack their heads. If they moved in their self-interest, they wouldn't send their armed police onto their own college campuses where their own children are studying. They wouldn't do that. So in terms of their own people, they don't move in their own self-interest. So we can be assured that in terms of black people, they will not move in their self-interest. What is important is for black people to move in black people's self-interest and let them do whatever they want to do.
In the most vicious system of racism.
But then the funds were taken away.
But they got them back.
They got them back.
Right, but they weren't in control, not really.
No, they're in control now, and they're in control in Alabama. I'm saying there's never going to be a time when you're totally in control.
Why not?
Life is a constant struggle.
I don't see why black people can't be totally in control of their destiny.
Oh, only if you struggle and fight for it.
Well, that's what it's all about.
But you got to fight with your head as well as with your fist or with your gun.
Well, maybe,
I think that all wars involve fighting on every level.
That's
you see,
right.
Politics is warfare without bloodshed, and warfare is politics with bloodshed.
Yeah.
including white people.
I'm quoting Huey Newton and Mao Zedong and Ho Chi Minh.
Well, let's put it this way. If that's the case, then if we're
in
looking...
the English language.
If we're looking...
It was Kathleen Cleaver right there, Black Panther Party. Ikemba must be getting some new mics and headphones. I ain't gonna say nothing about that. But anyway, I'm still here.
Again,
huh?
How do I sound?
How you sound?
Yeah.
You sound like Ikemba, brother. You look different.
Oh, but no different? Oh, man, I was trying.
You good. Anyway, man, I want to point out, there was a clip from Kathleen Cleaver, and we pray strong and be healthy, good health for Sister Kathleen Cleaver. I want to mention, as we talked about earlier, this is Black August. Black August is about political prisoners. On this day, the 13th of August, we commemorate 3 fallen soldiers who were instrumental in the formation of Black August because they gave their lives. These particular brothers, W.L. Nolan, 21-year-old W.L. Nolan, 23-year-old Alvin Juggs Miller, and 21-year-old Cleveland Edwards were involved in an altercation with members of the Aryan Nation when a correction officer by the name of Opie Miller decided that, him being a marksman, that he would fire into the crowd. And basically, he shot these 3 brothers. It took place in Soledad Prison. It actually took place on January 13th, 1970. But because W.L. Nolan in particular was one of the primary reasons why Black August exists, because him and his partner, George Jackson, who formed the Black Guerrilla family, um, you know, they were pretty much intertwined and, historically. And so instead of January 13th being the day we commemorate it during Black August, because this is when these brothers who were instrumental in prison movement and revolution, when they met their demise. Again, there was a altercation. These brothers were shot and left on the yard to bleed for 20 minutes. One of the Aryan Nation folks was shot as well. Yeah, one of the Aryan Nation folks was shot in a testicle. He survived, but these 3 brothers here, they were left to bleed out. So much so that witnesses said that inmates made efforts to carry the wounded inmates off the yard and were forced at gunpoint to cease their attempts. So this happened, and we commemorated. 4 days after the murders, a prison guard was beaten and thrown off top prison tier. And the brothers George Jackson, Fleeta Drumgo, and John Clichette, later known as the Soledad brothers, were accused and charged for the retaliation. Again, we will talk more about Black August and what it is historically. I also want to invite folks to learn more. I'm going to put our web address on the screen because I want folks to be able to study Black August. We think that Black August is very important. So we want to invite you all to be a part of what it is we're doing. I'm having some trouble over here, but anyway, that's the deal with that.
That's the the importance of us and having power and the right to self-determination, as Sister Kathleen was speaking about, because the only difference in what took place in these prison camps in this situation is that African people don't have power. Their death, there's not going to be any justice served for the death of an African, in these prison camps. But on the other hand, what they call retaliation, they're looking to hold someone accountable. They never get held accountable. Historically, there may be things you can point out, but overwhelmingly, they have gotten away with flat out murder of African people en masse too. They've done it en masse and gotten away with it. But let an African stand up and resist. Nat Turner is a great example. Resist colonialism, resist slavery, and even with the chairman, he's on trial now for his life. For resisting state oppression. But this
is what comes with it. Definitely, to your point, when you're talking about standing up, I mean, these brothers right here doing Black August, that's what this is about, resistance. And the thing is, the beautiful thing about what we do here on Black Power Media, and all of the other platforms that we're affiliated with is so necessary, because we're talking about, liberation. We're talking about advancement. We're talking about moving beyond just accepting what the status quo is talking about. That convo right there that Kathleen Cleaver and Andrew Young was having. I mean, we already know Andrew Young's history. Andrew Young is a war criminal, whether we like it or not, folks, relating to the Civil Rights movement, but they don't know his history with folks like Paul Kagame. You know what I'm saying? They don't know about his history with folks here in the U.S. as an ambassador. But even with what's going on right now, where Gilly, the Georgia International Law Enforcement Exchange, is held here, the exchange between Israeli soldiers and Georgia cops, they train. Their office is in the Andrew Young Civil Rights Building on Georgia State Capitol. On Georgia State campus.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, he has a history of being a Negro, him and folks like Jesse Jackson, etc. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, we know you have a guest today. Scrolling across the bottom of the joint, you can see peoplesarmy.org/Black August. That's how you can learn more about Black August. We have a number of different articles, interviews, everything from radio to video, just breaking down what Black August is, because of the fact that so often people talk about Black August and I'm not quite sure which Black August they're talking about. And many of us aren't. Black August, again, is about liberation of our political prisoners. Anyway, we have a guest coming up. What's happening with that, brother?
Right on. And this brother that we have coming, joining us, man. I've known this brother for several years, man. I'm bad. The time is blurry with me. I don't even know what today is. Is it Tuesday? Is it what? I don't know. But
somebody owe you some money, you remember? But go ahead.
Yeah, but great brother. Like I met him at an event at Long Island University. They was trying to do something radical over there. There was a lot of radical organizations out there tabling up. It was so long ago, but the brother seeing the African People's Socialist Party had a table out there, and I was organizing with NPDM, International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. So I was out there supporting the party, and he asked someone from the party to come speak at an event that he was putting together, sort of a networking sort of event. And that's why I love this brother, because he brings Africans from different communities together, and that's what this event was about. And let us share our ideas at this event. And so I've known him for years, and I just know him best for hosting programs, hosting events, whether virtual or in person, where he brings the African community, those who are in the diaspora, those who are on the continent, those who speak French, English, traditional African languages, put us all in one room and, find a way for us to work together. And but let's bring him, let him really like talk about who he is.
Okay. You want to say his name, or you just
our brother Jimra from Chad. And a lot of people probably can't even point to Chad on a map, but we're gonna get some education today. Y'all gonna learn about Chad today. Hey, peace, my brother.
Peace and power, my brothers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations. I'm doing well. Congratulations for continuously pursuing what Marcus Garvey and many before him have started. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes. We extend that congratulations to you as well, brother, because we recognize that it is an honor and a blessing for us to be able to fight. Folks think that that's a bad thing, but when you are chosen to stand up for our people's liberation, then it's one of the highest honors. So it's what we do with it when we get involved. So yeah, definitely appreciate you. For folks who aren't familiar, because as Comrade mentioned, he mentioned about a lot of folks can't point Chad out on the map. I want to talk about why that is. I want to first talk about what brought Africa to where it is today, because we talk about things like, Berlin. And when as we mentioned earlier, when we talk about Berlin, some people think about the Berlin Wall. We think about the Berlin Conference. You know what I mean? So if you don't mind, brother Jimra, sharing to our audience what the Berlin Conference was about and basically how did somewhere like Chad come about?
Excellent, excellent question. How did we end up with countries like Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, which is French for Ivory Coast, et cetera, et cetera. The Berlin Conference is the beginning of where we are in terms of just the cutting up of your continent, my continent, our beautiful continent of Africa. Literally in a room in Germany, Berlin, Europeans have gotten together, French, Germans, English, British, you take a pick, whichever one you want to go with. Portuguese, let's not forget. Portuguese were the first. Yeah.
Belgium.
Yeah, Portuguese were the first. Yeah, Spaniard. Again, these are the big perpetrators. Portuguese, quote unquote, were the first Europeans to even come to Africa in the 14th, 15th centuries.
Right.
Spaniard, but they got together, and in my protests, I mentioned that as well. Like, hey, Germany, you take this side. France, you take this side. English people here. And literally, the continent was cut up into pieces. We had flourishing kingdoms, kingdom of Congo, to name one, kingdoms of Bagirmi, which is where Chad is today. We had flourishing kingdoms, and we were divided into Algeria, Zimbabwe. We were divided and were given names that we were conditioned to even accept. But that's how Africa today is divided into 54 different nations.
And just to add to that point that you're making, like the cutting up, and just to give people a clear picture on what's happening. Like they're sitting at the table, and they're actually developing the rules of engagement when it comes to Africa. So to avoid conflict among themselves, because it was already determined that, hey, Africa, we taking the continent, right? But what we going, because they were doing the same thing in America, right? They had that experience of having wars, the French Indian War, the conflicts with Spain, all throughout the Americas. So they were not trying to repeat this again in Africa. So they sitting at the table. These are the rules of engagement. And so when they were going to cut, and I say that just so people don't have this picture of them sitting down and saying, okay, this is your pie, this is your pie, even though that is going to be the end result. But that was the process that was taking place when they were at Berlin. And we all know that there was no Africans at the table.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, the juxtaposition to even the Berlin Conference, for me, as of today, the geopolitical implications, I'm the type of person, and I believe you guys are the same. I don't see Russia in the light of Western media. I see Russia as an ally. Geopolitically speaking, Africa is hot today. It's hot because of the scrambling happening between the two blocks, the Western bloc and the the Russian. And the fact is, we need to wake up and not be continuously or eternally just this piece of cake without even Africans being implicated. And I love how you guys use African because you guys are African. African is not just the African born in Africa. African is the African who have been taken away from Africa or who have been in the Americas way even before any European came in the Americas. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to add as well.
Yeah, I had a question about Chad too. Comrade Kalonji brought up Chad. What was your experience like growing up? I don't even know how long you were in Chad, right? But was it long enough to talk about that experience? And a follow up though is because you mentioned Russia. With Russia, because Russia is Central Africa, West Africa right now. They're all over Africa, and that's something we're going to talk about later. So
Yes.
I won't get too much into it right now.
Yes.
But yeah, what's Russia's relationship with Chad, if there is one?
Excellent. So Chad, we started with the Berlin conference, and of course, before I officially got onto the show, we had a brief discussion with you too. I was born Christian Jimra Kumtog. So the whole Berlin conference came about the fact that African nations are still using the names given to us by Europeans. And my parents gave me Christian Jimra Kumtok, my mother to be specific. When I got a chance to become a US citizen in 2019, you are given the option, would you like to change your name? I said yes, remove Christian. Jimra is actually my middle name, make it my first name, and my middle name became my first name. So I technically do not have a middle name, but now I'm Jimra Kumtok. But I was born Christian Jimra Kumtok, which is also funny. As an African man, people, a lot of Americans don't understand that we were colonized. 54 nations, as I mentioned, we have Africans who speak Portuguese, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Angola, Sao Tome Principe. There's one of the Guinea, and there's like 5 Guineas, 3 or 4 Guineas in Africa. I think Guinea-Bissau. These countries speak Portuguese because they were colonized by the Portuguese. So as a part of inheritance, quote unquote, air quote, Portuguese, the language is spoken. There's one country in Africa that speaks Spanish. One of the Guineas. 15 countries, Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast is one. Togo, Senegal, Chad included, like Algeria. 15 of us speak French. We were colonized by the French. And lastly, English, like Nigeria, you name it, Ghana, colonized by the English, so they speak English. So linguistically speaking, you cannot beat Africa when it comes to the languages. And that's not even talking about the 2,000 African languages that are marginalized, by the different governments. But Chad was a French colony. We actually gained our independence on August 11th. So I see August being such a powerful month. Yesterday, most of us do not celebrate any type of independence, whether it's Ghana or, but Africans shouldn't be celebrating any type of independence because European nations are still involved behind the scene, whether politically, economically speaking, they are still involved. But we gained our independence on August 11th, 1960. Chad became a quote unquote republic in 1945, 1940. But we speak French, we speak Arabic, and our stupid government make those two languages official. Again, in Chad, we have over 200 African languages. I'm considering Ngambay, and apostrophe Gambaye, Ngambay. That's my ethnic group. We don't use tribe like West Africans or Anglophone Africans. We don't really say tribe, we say ethnic group, which is a tribe, if you ask me. Ngambay. I'm also Kaba, Kaba. That's my ethnic group. And Laka, Laka. That's like my dad's side, but I'm my mother's side. I'm Ngambay. We we are part of what you call a Sara people, Sara, as part of you know conveying who I am. I'm also an avid writer, researcher, poet. So I'll share my article about the Sara people. Sara actually means sons and daughter of Ra. My ethnic group, we are Nilotic people, people of the Nile. Chad is actually in the heart of Africa, but we used to be in Egypt. We moved to where Chad is centrally uh, because of the coming of Arabs. So when people talk about ancient Egyptians, we are directly linked to ancient
Yeah, yeah.
Egyptians and pharaohs. Ra in my language means to create. If you see Jimra, people worship Ra. Ra actually means to create in my language, to make. If you want to say Jimra, my name means what my hands has created. Jim in my language means my hand. Ra means to create, to make. So the languages that make sense. The language makes sense. Ra was worshipped for a reason. Anything, fish, plants, humans depend or rely on the sun. But that's a little bit. Most of the people in Chad are Muslim. Maybe I would say 55% Muslim, and 35% Christian, and maybe 2-3% animist. Animism is the worship of nature, which for me makes a lot more sense than these Judeo religious belief. Nature gives us fish, trees, gives us mangoes and bananas, and so we used to worship nature, animism. But
Could I say something real quick?
yes,
I was holding on to it. I was trying to hold on to it, but
no
when
problem.
you was bringing up the Ra,
Yes,
when you was bringing up the Ra, the contradiction even in your name, where Christian came before Jimra, right?
yeah,
But it goes to like the decolonization, process that you went through, even reclaiming your African name
yes,
and making that your first name, and getting rid of Christian. I think is also that could be symbolic of what we all need to be doing. I went through that process. Ikemba
yes.
isn't my government or the name I was given at birth, and I won't say it on. I'm like Malcolm. I don't acknowledge it at all. But no, but I appreciate that. I just wanted to point that out. But
Thank you.
if I could though, ask a question about the work that you do around
Yes,
that. Even though you're involved, really, it doesn't matter if it's Chad or any other struggle as it pertains to African people. But what are some of those struggles you've been involved in when it comes to the problems of Africa, and how you see what we need to do to solve some of those issues?
sure. Pragmatism, being practical. Um, I'm an avid writer, and I use my gift in terms of educating, re-educating, starting with self. I believe we need to start internally on learning. Sadly, so much money is spent by various government, including the U.S., British, and French government, to continuously condition and brainwash people, and educating by writing, as an African man, by conveying that the educated African sees the American, the Caribbean as equal, and to everyone who has faced an uneducated African, I ask you to see that person as a person who's lost. You know, there are what they call now diaspora wars that don't even make sense when we face the same enemy, you know. But educating is one. Hey, slavery or being colonized, we still, as of 2024, with the many travels, we still are marginalized as a people, whether in continental Africa, in the USA, South America, Central America, the indigenous people of Australia, we are marginalized. Why is it that because of our beautiful black skin, we are relegated to this second class citizenship status? Just doesn't make sense. So re-educating, also embracing in terms of we are where we are. Sure, if we existed 500 years ago, 300 years ago, we would have put up a good fight because your energy is your energy. It doesn't matter what timeline you ended up in. As you see, if you believe in reincarnation, I believe you guys were great warriors even in the 5th century.
I know
You
I
know?
was. I know I was, bro. For real. What's that,
You're
Conrad?
muted. You're muted. He's muted.
Yeah, yeah. I needed to be at that point.
You was uniting? You was uniting with that?
I was gonna say we had to check at the Ikemba's timeline, brother. I'm not sure. We won't give too much credit just yet.
but re-educating, and that's crazy when I look at how I even started. I started by being a contributor. An amazing platform for you guys to check out is face2faceafrica.com. It's a media face FACE number 2 FACE.com. I have 100,000 articles in there. I was there from face2faceafrica.com. I was there from 2007 to maybe 2012, 13, just writing profusely, writing to just hopefully if you get exposed to my writing, you'll see my approach. I believe internally the French word is prise de conscience, getting hold of your consciousness and just being introspective in asking yourself, like, it's okay to take a step back. Listen, my belief, I was raised as a Christian, literally, going to church. And it's like a lot of things didn't make sense, especially when I was exposed to like the negative confessions, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, for example, or when you realize that, okay, Moses was actually abandoned by his mom and the Pharaoh picked him up, and Moses grew up as a Pharaoh. He grew up in the upper class of Egyptian, and of course he was exposed to the negative confession. It makes sense why Moses was the person who came up with the 10 Commandments, which are very similar to a lot of the principles of the Book of the Dead, which was practiced thousands of years ago before even Christianity was born. So these are the things that I think about, like in terms of just like authentic faith. But yes, started writing for 5-6 years, and then I launched my platform called Like-Minded People NYC, which we went from writing to theorizing to now let's bring people together. And Like-Minded People is a collective. I have 7 to 8 pillars. The first event or the annual event, one was called the Aquaba Picnic. There was a little tension with the usage of picnic, so I turned it into marché, which is market in French. Aquaba picnic or marché was a gathering in Fort Greene Park, and then I moved to Commodore Berry Park in Brooklyn. bring food from Ghana, bring food from Chad, bring food from here, bring food from Ethiopia. We have a DJ. I get all the permits, sound permit, permit to host an event at the park. Bring the food and try food from Chad that you never tried. Try food from Ethiopia. Try food from soul food from here. So a conversation over food, music at a park, and just bringing people together. It's also a subconscious approach to community building. Akwaba picnic, Akwaba marché. The second pillar is Uzuri art exhibition, and Akwaba is a Ghanaian language Twi, which means welcome. So it was our first event, so we call it Akwaba, as in welcome event, marché, market, as in the gathering. And then Uzuri is Swahili for beautiful. Uzuri art exhibition, a platform for Black, Caribbean, African American, African painters. We rented a space, an artistic space in Harlem. We had incredible painters and artists showcase their work. It was one of my successful events. It was free, but we still ended up raising $2,000 just cash donation because we provided food, we provided a platform for Black artists in New York City, which is very sad. In the name of these Western constructs, people give up on their dream to chase money. It's extremely sad. I met artists with beautiful paintings in their basement, just sitting there. So we try to do that in terms of creating platform. After Uzuri, I had a what you call it, a collaboration with the New York African Film Festival, which is also unheard. Africans don't even know about the New York African Film Festival, which is insane. And the whole purpose was to let people know. So we came up with Spotlight on Africa, because what happens is they bring African actors, Caribbean producers, they present at Lincoln Center, they present at BAM, and then that's it. There's no way movie lovers can interact with these guys. So we created an event where these movie producers and even one actress, Nigerian actress, attended my event, and it's just like we have to break these barriers that don't do us good as an African people. So Spotlight on Africa is a third pillar. Again, just bringing us together and a conversation over films, movies. Fourth event is the African Cup of NYC, which is a soccer tournament. As Africans, we love soccer. As Caribbean, we like soccer. So I literally get a permit and we play soccer. And I even invited my Colombian friends because I play semi-professionally. I'm pretty good in soccer. I played for many years, so I understand the conversation over sports. And again, we invited Argentina to play, even though they're pretty racist. We invited Argentina to join, and it was incredible. The fifth pillar is called Indaba networking event for professionals, bringing Black professionals, Caribbean professionals, African professionals, and I don't do it small. And God has blessed me. I went to the W Hotel Times Square, and that's just when you are gifted or you are blessed. I went to the management. I'm talking about like upscale. You guys know about the W Hotel, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to do an event. What's up? They're like, okay, as long as our hotel guests can attend. I'm like, sure. Didn't pay. Had a DJ again. Beautiful event, beautiful space right there in Times Square. Black professionals, like yo, when you have a beautiful space, beautiful people show up, just exchanging and just collaborating. And maybe this is my sixth or seventh pillar, Nega Maji. And I only use African names. Nega Maji is actually my language, Ngambai. Ne means thing, gu Maji means a good thing. Nega Maji, poetry. I do poetry, so I invited poets. I invited jazz artists and comedian. Again, creating platform, but I went from writing to actually bringing people together. And that's how I invited you to the African Beat brunch, which was my last leg conversation over music. And then I actually have vendors, African Caribbean um, vendors sell whatever they're selling, perfume, earrings,
Mm-hmm.
at the event. But that's pretty much where I am. And I gave it a timeout to restructure, and I focused
Yeah.
these last 12 months on organizing protests in front of UN, organizing or co-organizing protests in front of the French embassy in Washington D.C. because we don't have guns, we don't have Kalashnikovs, we don't have bombs. We have our voice, we have our press.
Not yet,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yes, sir.
No, I'm saying not yet, but we'll get there.
Listen, I was so inspired with all the videos you guys played. Really, like
Yeah.
I hate the fact that the Black Panther had like the
Mm.
movement has been tarnished by just white folks. They did amazing things that
Yeah.
even these white
That's
governments
good.
have copied. Free meals for students. It's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
But I think we need to get back to that like 1,000, 2,000 just
yeah.
of us ready to.
Well,
Yeah,
we're still doing it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
They make sure the folks it don't reach the masses though.
yeah.
By any means necessary. You was about to say something, Conrad?
Sign me up, guys. I'm not that crazy violent, but I feel like that presence was necessary, truly.
Yeah.
No doubt. I want to and I appreciate all that you're doing and all that you've done, and for sharing it with our audience today. One of the things that we don't hear about quite often, and when we do hear about it, it's through Western media. I want to talk about the conflict in Chad and what that means, and how it came about, because I think that I have some folks from Chad or whatever, some good friends, and of course we've been hearing what's been going on for years, the bubbling and everything. But I think that for the masses, particularly in these European countries, we don't get proper information because it's by design. Like we talking about
Yes.
world news.
Yeah.
Chad's not important. Let's talk about France.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? France isn't important. I mean, France is important, but Niger isn't until folks talk about rising up and doing some type of collaboration. But yeah, if you don't mind sharing with us what's going on in Chad and how it came about.
I don't mind at all. And I said every time I'm given a microphone at the various protests that I have attended, the government of France is one of the most diabolical governments ever. And just to even give people context, I'm not just anybody who just talks about politics. My father was the ambassador, maybe even Ikemba didn't know, the ambassador of Chad. So you got the right person to tell you about Chad. We came here at the age of 16. I'm 40 now, so now you guys, even though I may look like I'm 35, I'm joking.
Still a youngster, man.
People don't know we fighters. I have a great sense of humor too. We just
Without a
focus on
doubt.
the things I need to be focused on.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But my father was the ambassador of Chad at the permanent mission here at the United Nations. That's how I ended up at the United Nations. And truly, people got to pay attention. If a guy like me is organizing protests around the UN, that means I have a lot more information, and I am true to my divine ancestral calling, and the fight we are putting up is a continuation again of
Mm.
what Marcus Garvey has done, of what Malcolm X has done, of what Patrice Lumumba has done, of
Mm-hmm.
what Modibo Keita has done, of what Thomas Sankara has done, of all these great men, what they have done. And people, these evil people who are controlling the world, they are playing with fire because it's going to multiply. Like, we are not done. Even in 100 years, if they continue with their foolish ways, we will burn down this planet. for the sake of rebuilding a new one. But Chad is the product of just currently 6% of my people, less than 6% of Chadian have access to electricity in 2024. And let me just even open a side note. If these European countries are smart, they would facilitate the industrialization of, if you want to make money, hey, maybe we can, provide, or, like, money is paper. When the US government wants, they print all the money they can print and do whatever they want to do, bail out other big $1 million companies. So insane. But bringing development, quote unquote, to Africa will bring revenue. 6% of Chadians don't have access to electricity. Maybe 63% of the people have access to clean water. It's just crazy. Healthcare, we don't even have a healthcare system. And this is actually 90% of Africa. I hear you go to the doctor, and thank God for Obama care, you can get checked out, you can get procedures. In Africa, either you have the cash or you don't have the cash. There is no healthcare system. Like, there's nothing in place. You go to see the doctor. If you don't have $600, $700, $1,000, forget it. You're gonna die. So that, like, the type of person I am, I thank God for this country. All the Africans who are in my position, you see what works in this country. You see how you can implement these things where you're from to better the lives of the collective. And we don't have the bare minimum. And Chad, people from Djibouti will tell you the same thing. People from Somalia. And that's why it's so hard to bring Africans together, because we are all struggling at the same level. You cannot, like, the fact I'm telling you about Chad, somebody else from Congo is going to tell you worse. Somebody from Mozambique is like 99% of African nations. Maybe Morocco is thriving a little bit. Maybe South Africa. That's about it. Maybe Ghana. And again, we have 54 nations. Maybe 4 nations are doing okay. Everybody else, no electricity, no clean water, no healthcare system. And guess what? The leadership of Africa, extremely corrupted. The people have been given these positions as secretary of this, secretary of that, secretary of this, secretary of that. And all they do is nothing. They don't do anything for the people, no vision, no minimum, nothing, right? And contrary even to what they should be doing, are you ready? They would take 5 million. Let me buy this building here in Paris. Let me buy this villa here in Monaco. Let me buy this property in New York. You can't make this. You cannot make it up.
Taking the resources from the people and sort of just
they
like
invest back into the white man's land, brother.
Yeah.
They invested back into the white. You cannot make it up. And the funny thing is, we make fun of African presidents instead of building hospitals, equipping hospitals, and training doctors and physicians. You guys don't even do that. But when you are sick, not only are they spending millions to fly back to France, back to Lisbon, fly back to London, fly back to Barcelona to see the best doctors and physicians. They don't even build. They don't even build hospitals, brother. It's insane. I promise you.
This neo-colonialism. What, to really quick to Conrad Kalonji, the point or to his question though, I'm curious, like, so there's a conflict going on in Chad. Is there like what we have in Mali? Is it that kind of situation, or is it is
Chad
there
is at a crossroad? Chad is at a crossroad because what's going on is we are in a hot seat. Chad is very central, by the way. between Chad and the Central African Republic, which is another country. We are very much in the heart of Africa. Geopolitics 101 is happening in Chad. Geopolitically, like the president either is going to be dead soon because he's not following what the French government wants and the U.S. Because, you know, I'm not going to lie, the U.S. backs the French government. Easy and simple. And the French government is doing extremely evil, has been doing evil for a long time. But what's going on is Chad is okay currently. Okay, and this is what I mean by there is a hot conflict in Sudan, as you know. 11 million people displaced, millions killed. Our neighbor. Like we actually share a lot of cultures between Sudan and Chad. Libya, since Gaddafi is dead, is a hot. Libya is our neighbor. Hot potato. Nigeria is okay, but it's still hard because economically people are dying and inflation is the worst ever. Central African Republic, occupied by Wagner, you know, the Russian are there. Niger, for many years now. Yeah, Central African Republic, Niger. These are all our neighbors. Niger, as you know, since Tiani, which is the transitional president, kicked the French out, and he's working with Russia. Chad is really like, I say within a year you're going to hear either the president got killed because he's not doing what the master is asking him to do. But Cameroon is the only country, which is our neighbor. We are very landlocked, but these are all our neighbors. Cameroon is the only one that's quote unquote okay, but Cameroon has the longest living president, and Paul Biya. Guess how long he's been in power? 40 years now, one president. And he's not even in Cameroon. He's like making decisions from Switzerland. But Chad, yeah, it's insane. It's like a joke, guys. If you dig down, and thank God you guys have me. I know a lot about what's going on. I can share. I save you time. But Chad is okay in terms of like the current president, the son of the former president, was just, the elections were rigged easily. There's no elections in Africa that are transparent. 99% of elections are rigged. He's my age. He's actually maybe 4 days older than me. He was born April 4th, 1984. I'm born April 7th. But his father was president for 32 years, killed. And now the son is trying to do something. We don't really know his position because Niger, as you know, Mali, and Burkina Faso opted to get rid of the French military bases. And one thing I will add is Boko Haram, or like the terrorists, is an invention of the West, especially after Libya was destabilized. Gaddafi did an amazing thing for his people. These people, since he's dead, are suffering a lot because he was a great leader. As an African, I would tell you, he was a good leader. Libyans were not dying of hunger. Libyans were getting extra cash when they get married. They were living. Have you ever seen a Libyan outside of Libya when Gaddafi was? I just thought about it when he died. They don't need to leave Libya. Life was great.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I don't think I've met one. You got me there. You got me there.
Now they are leaving because
you ever met one? Come on, we got to prove them wrong. You met one.
Listen, man. Nah, man. I'm sitting here confused. I mean, I don't never remember asking like, you from Libya? If I did, I don't know. I think Jimra reaching with that one. He's just like, man, you ain't never met no. We gonna believe you because we don't know. So
now I gotta do my investigation. Well, I can't now because of the situation. Right. So you might got us on this one.
Now you will find them because Libya is a living hell. Like all the terrorist groups are in Libya. It's a living hell. I'm talking about a shithole country, like Donald Trump said. Libya is the epitome of a shithole. There's no government technically. No government. It's just like a
Yeah.
wild west. But Chad,
And who what was you about? I was going to say, well, you said shout out. I'm going to go with that. Shout out to former President Obama for making that happen. Everybody's favorite president, man.
That road.
Man, this country is a simulation. I'm talking about the whole world is a simulation. What's going on? When you can't believe what's going on. It's really like mad.
Yeah.
Not lying. Well, listen, check this out, man. We're watching the Rise Up International Morning Show. We got our brother Jimra on here telling us that ain't no Libyans outside of Libya. But
back in the day,
I want to give a note. I want to give a note that Ikemba did bring him on here just in case y'all find any Libyans before then. We'll say
here 30 years. I've been living here for 30 years now, man.
Well, actually, Jimra, I didn't want to tell you, but Ikemba's ex-wife is actually Libyan. He didn't want to say that to you.
Nah. Don't go for that.
I'm just spreading the rumor.
Don't go for that, Jimra.
Anyway, we're gonna get to the bottom of that. We come back. We're live and direct. This is the Rise Up International Morning Show. We have our guest Jimra Kumtal on deck, and we have my brother Ikemba. I am Kalonji Changa. We're gonna go to a quick Black Power break. Y'all stand clear.
Black power, because we think that is the fundamental issue of these times that we live in, but in fact it's been the fundamental issue for African people for a very long time now. First of all, what I would like to do is just briefly say some things about the African People's Socialist Party, which is the organization that I chair. We are a revolutionary organization. And by that, I want to say that we are convinced that this country, this system, do not have the ability to do justice by African people. That if we are to ever know justice, freedom, and democracy, we are going to have a revolution. It's that simple. And I know that that's a difficult issue for a lot of folk. And the fact that it is obviously a difficult issue for a lot of folk is reflected in the number of people who are in this room right now. But it is nevertheless the truth. And it's important to talk about that because we can continue to have discussions that make us feel good, but won't take us anywhere. We can continue to have discussions where people come before us and make rhymes like up with hope and down with dope, and perhaps we'll feel better, but they don't take us any place. And what we have to do is come up with some kind of analysis of the reality that we are confronted with as a people, and then be able to use that analysis to change our circumstances so that they are not the kind of circumstances we find ourselves confronted with today, but what we want for ourselves and for our children in the future. So we are a revolutionary organization. We believe that if one wants to know what it will take for us to become free, all we have to do is look at history and see what it took for us to become enslaved. And if we find any place in our history that we voted ourselves into slavery, then I say let's go and get together and vote ourselves the hell out of slavery. And if we can find any place in history where we sang our way into it, then let's sing our way out of it. But the reality, that is not the case, sisters and brothers. The reality is that we are going to have to cut, shoot, and bomb our way out of the circumstances that we find ourselves confronted with. And I know that's not something that everybody wants to hear, and it's not something that a lot of folk want to hear. But it's the truth nevertheless. This is not a suggestion at this meeting that once you're on your way out, we're going to be handing out AK-47s for people to go out and do your thing. Reality is I'd be extremely afraid to pass out AK-47s in the community because I'd be afraid that I'd probably become one of the first victims of the AK-47. In other words, there's a lot of work that we have to do in the interim. But having said that there's a lot of work we have to do, we have to also remember that our objective is total, absolute liberation for our people. And you can't have it any other way. There's no way that you can talk about sharing the power over your lives with somebody else and then feeling like you got a right to complain about what somebody does to you. Either you want the power or you don't. And some people are afraid of the power, and some people are not afraid of the power. In fact, actually understand and believe that we need the power, but just don't believe we're going to ever be able to get the power. And so what they will do is find themselves compromising forever with a system that has never been able to bring anything but genocide and oppression to African people, as opposed to struggling to find some way to end our relationship with this North American hell that we've been confronted with for something like 500 years today. So we're a revolutionary organization. We're a revolutionary organization that was founded in 1972 at the back of the attack on and defeat of the Black Revolution of the 60s. The Black Revolution of the 60s was one of the most consequential things that has ever occurred in this country, and it's something that we have to struggle to understand. All of us need to struggle to understand. And we need to understand it because subsequent to the defeat of the Black Revolution of the 60s, there's been a lot of historical revisionism that's been occurring in this country. And what we find is today people tell us that the 60s was not about revolution, but it was about the flower children in Haight-Ashbury and San Francisco making love and not war. They tell us it was about hippies. Or if they find themselves talking about African people in this country, what they suggest is that perhaps it has something to do with a generational thing. That a few young people were caught up by these mysterious times and got involved, and they even sometimes suggested maybe somebody put something in the water and all of us went a little crazy. But the reality is that the 60s was a period that was characterized by the Chinese as an era within which there was great disorder under the heavens. And the reality is that revolution was the main trend in the entire world in the 60s, not just in Philadelphia. But everywhere in the world, oppressed people had risen up and were fighting for their freedom. And they were fighting all over Latin America. In fact, the 60s were opened with the great revolution in Cuba in 1959 that overthrew a U.S. puppet government under Batista, where the U.S. held Cuba as a whorehouse for white people and a gambling den for wealthy white people and gangsters and what have you. It was Cuba that opened up the 60s. It was, we saw the 60s.
No doubt, we are live and direct. That is Chairman O'Malley. Ikemba, that's his chairman, and Ikemba could tell us a little bit what's going on because we know that he's the hardest working man in the party. So tell us what's happening, Ikemba. We know you ain't missed no meetings, so
For sure. Well, I'm in the movement. I'm not in the party. We gotta be clear because I don't want to say anything like I'm representing the party right now, But but definitely affiliated in the movement with the mass organization, International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. That's the mass organization of the party. But it's September 3rd. You have Jesse Neville, Chairman O'Malley Yesatella, who's the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party. They will be on trial. Fighting for their life. They allegedly they're supposed to have been working with the Russians to undermine U.S. elections and pushing forth ideas of reparations, which would cause a dissension between the black population and the American government. So basically working as agents for the Russians. That's what they're, being charged with. But this is the same thing that if you go back to the 60s, and even in that video, Chairman's talking about the 60s, you go back to the 50s and the 60s, and any African that was resisting Jim Crow segregation, fighting for civil rights, they had to be working for the communist Soviet Union at the time. They couldn't have come up with these ideas on their own, to organize around these issues, right? They couldn't understand their own oppression and want to be fighting for liberation. Somebody has to be planting these ideas in their head. So the same thing was going on then. Dr. King was supposed to have been an agent for the Communist Party. Even Malcolm X, they tried to push that narrative on Malcolm, something he said when he was incarcerated in the 50s. And even later on, because of the meetings that Malcolm was going to with the labor, at the labor forum, they was trying to push this narrative that Malcolm was an agent for Soviet Russia. They didn't come out and say, but they were trying to connect those dots, and it would have happened sooner or later. But nothing different, man, now. But in any case, we should be able to have the liberty and the freedom to work with anybody we want to when it comes to our own interests.
Yes.
And that's a serious problem. That just shows how much control and power that these colonizers have over the black population, where we don't have the liberty to work with anybody in our own interests if it's outside of the borders of the United States, right? But that's what, we should have that right. That sovereignty, that's what we should be working towards.
No doubt. So Jimra, like what are, just if you were to take an educated guess or make an educated guess, what would you say some of the main issues or problems we would see between preventing unity between Africans in the diaspora and Africans on the continent? And for the record, I'm not coming like one of these naysayers, like we need to get along and talking about what the problems is, but like what are some of the problems that you think that need to be solved in order for us to gear towards a more functional unity type situation?
I believe we have to recognize that not every black person will be
black
willing. Yes, honestly, it's hard to even comprehend that. But some of our so-called celebrities, honestly, they could have fixed half of the problems we have beyond even politics, with their resources. Because you don't have to be a politician. We understand the need to get into politics because the decision makers are politicians. But if you don't want to get involved in politics, like I think LeBron James is doing a little bit of it, like, education wise, building schools and really being involved, not just I open a school, that's it. It's just like truly getting involved, but not to even fade away from your question. Oof, I don't even know if it's a loaded question, but there's so much work that needs to be done. But it's also simple. There are levels, I would say, to it. 3 levels. The simplest of levels would be conversations. We have been conditioned as Africans African Americans have been conditioned, Caribbeans have been conditioned. I think at our level, you are doing it. Conversations. Hey, this is a guy from Chad, 100% from Chad. Again, I could tell Ikemba. I mean, I don't know if Ikemba knew. Maybe after I sent him the links, but my family is rooted in politics in terms of just beyond even being the ambassador of Chad. My father was the secretary of communication to the president of Chad. So I just chose a different route, a route that chooses the people over any type of prestige or anything, but conversations continuously beyond today, another African, another Brazilian activist was able to tell us in great detail what's going on in Brazil, how is that Black Brazilians are marginalized and put in favelas and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, conversation, second level would be actions, as in, hey, maybe we need to, put our money where our mouth is and, take actions, or maybe buy your property in Jamaica, or even in the US. There's plenty of vacant land in the Midwest. Hey, I don't mind going to the Midwest with my people, as long as I have my people, somewhere in Montana, buy land. We have the right to become our own autonomous thing, I believe. If you have like, I don't know, 40,000 like-minded folks, we can build our own town in the US. But again, we understand how the US government works. If we become too powerful, they're going to come and bomb us. Like, plenty of Black Wall Street and, beautiful Wall Street and Black communities that were bombed by the US government. But we can only continuously try and never give up. And the third level, the third level is, I don't know how, but educate our celebrities who have a lot of resources. It's not going to be easy, but I believe some of them have a good heart. They just need the education. And hopefully they can change their ways and use the multi-million dollars to help get rid of all these rotten presidents we have. At the end of the day, we all belong to Africa as Black folks. We just have rotten presidents that they are making a living hell for everybody, But yeah.
Yeah, I think to your point about the celebrities, like, we have to be organized. Because I'm with you. I feel like these celebrities aren't they haven't been doing anything. I'm talking about, like the majority.
Yeah.
Overall, they haven't been doing anything for the Black community, right? But we have to get organized to put the pressure on them, just the same way as politicians. Like, we have to put pressure on people who have resources, to support the community, or we are going to stop supporting you. So, nobody in our community is held accountable, and we have to get to that point, man. So that, I think that's a great, great points that you made. I think too, just to answer Comrade Kalonji's question, education and economics, for me, I think is two important things that is needed to bring our communities together. Because of the miseducation, we've been, miseducated and indoctrinated to look at each other differently and better than, whether it's class or ethnicity, right, or nationality. So I think that for political education is going to be important, but the economics, I feel, is important, because if we're able to build those bridges and acquire resources together, because we all need to survive on this planet, we need food, clothing, and shelter. So we can work together where, on that basis, to become self-sufficient and be able to be independent of the colonizer, that'll create a stronger relationship between, I think, the communities. So yeah, but those are two thoughts that I had.
Yes, indeed.
And another thing we can learn, going back to just Garvey, because we started off talking about Marcus Garvey, and Marcus Garvey understood the importance of sorry about that. Marcus Garvey understood the importance of African people, no matter where you are, seeing yourself as African first and working together. And our ancestors, particularly in the diaspora, right? This is before like the Berlin Conference, right? When Africans were being brought to the Americas, you had Africans of different ethnic groups that were coming over here. And in order for them to survive, they had to stop seeing themselves just as Mende, as Igbo, as Yoruba, as Fulani, as Ashanti. They had to merge these ethnic differences and sort of create this African identity in order to survive and to resist. Through their resistance, this African identity was created as well. And this is something I think we can learn from as African people. We can learn from our ancestors that came here and said, hey, we are African people and we have a common enemy, which is the French, the Englishman, the Spaniard man. Like, this is our enemy.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to work together. Not to say that there wasn't divisions and contradictions that did exist, but it was those things I think was exacerbated just by the slave master, quote unquote slave master, who wanted to create division in order to control us. And it's the same thing that happens today. So I know I'm saying a lot, man.
No.
You are, yeah.
You're saying the right thing. I was going to ask you. You're very educated. How do you define intelligence?
And intelligence, I think I would define it as that's a good question. It's something that I think that you gain from experience. It's not necessarily, your intelligence comes from your experience and just like insight. Someone with like deep wisdom and insight and understanding. Yeah. And I believe there's a difference between someone that's intelligent and an intellectual. An intellectual can be a fool.
Yeah.
You got people who've never been to school that's very intelligent. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Now I asked that question because of what you said. And intelligence is just, for me, is the application of solutions to problems, like, hey, we're facing the same demons. Let's find solutions, practical solution. So it's also, intelligence is pragmatism, being practical. We cannot talk about going to the moon, like you said. We have the Elon Musk, who they want to go to the moon. Hey guys, you guys, we have billions of people who still don't have access to clean water. I don't know what's the purpose of going to the moon. Despite all his wealth, I don't think Elon Musk is intelligent. For me, it's like, we are human beings. I don't care what your belief is, how racist you are. That's again a lack of intelligence. Like, but I just wanted to add to what you said, which is also intelligence. Another level is just bringing a solution, practical solution, and it seems like people don't have it. And there's a Greek saying, I'm butchering the translation, but it was like pretty much a son, a dad talking to his son, like, hey, look, son, how this world is ran by extremely stupid people. It's crazy how some of, I feel like all the leaders are the same in 2024. Literally, I don't know. Can you name one or two world leader that beside Vladimir Putin, who's being like ostracized and fought against, like one or two leaders that do you think are doing a good job? Can you name one or two? Because I feel like they're all the same from Africa to South America to Europe, Asia. Maybe in Asia, maybe there will be one or two exceptions, right?
Yeah, no, I think for the most part they are trying to maintain the status quo. Everybody, the decisions that people are making is based on them trying to get a piece of the pie, but nobody's really trying to bring about a revolution. And I'm taking it when you talk about leaders, those people who are in those seats, those prime minister and presidential and congressional seats. But there, I think there are people who are in positions of power who want to bring about that transformation in the system, but they represent a minority. They need to get more mass support in order for them to be more effective. But it's a struggle. I mean, we're part of a system where they keep you having to work. You might, if you take a day off, you might starve. When you're a part of a system like that, I mean, that's a tough decision to make. Am I going to risk not being able to feed myself and my family to fight when this is a protracted struggle? It's going to take a while. So, a lot of people aren't willing to take that risk. But the more people that are involved, see, we're in a situation where everybody's waiting for somebody, the other person to make the move. Like, let me see if he go, then I'll go. But we need a situation where everybody is in accord, on the same accord, and saying, okay, we're all going to move together. That's how we're going to bring about this change in the system. So yeah, But speaking of changes, because I know before we run out of time, I want to just make sure we get to just a couple more questions. You're a poet, and your poet. I was checking it out, my brother. I ain't know you was sharp like that, man. You are an amazing poet, I would say, and your poetry really speaks to the African experience, man. There's a lot of emotion in there, like the visual, like you really paint I think a great visual picture in your poetry as well. I see Sankofa in your picture, in your poetry, man. So with that being said, you talked about using your poetry as sort of a way to bring about change. So it's kind of like creating this bridge between your artistry and your activism. Can you talk about that and how you see your artistry bringing about change in the future?
Well, sadly, I feel like some of us, we are ahead of our times. You will be celebrated 100 years from now, just like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara. Yeah, you and I will be. We are definitely ahead of our times because we are intelligent. We see the world like, I'm not even trying to talk like a godlike or with a God complex. It's just we are sensitive to pain. We are sensitive to lack. We are sensitive to just useless depletion of potentials and abilities and gift. In the name of money, people do jobs and things that really asphyxiate their God-given gift. We were all created with a purpose, and truly one thing that I believe at a young age, new parents need to do is pretty much bring these questions to their children at a young age. Hey, what do you think your purpose is? What do you think the universe or God or our ancestors, why do you think they allow you to exist in this parallel? you know, I think it's a question that will make the world a better place once people know or try to determine why was I created. I mean, it is important, you know, but I say we are ahead of our time because we don't get the support we need. I'm not gonna lie. You know, we don't get the support we deserve.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, not the funny thing, the sad thing again is our heart is pure. You're not trying to reach a level to just buy 7 properties around the world or drive a Maybach or a Bugatti to show off like our quote unquote celebrities are doing. Like literally stupid when you think about it, like, okay, sh- show off your wealth. Jay-Z, Beyonce, show off your wealth. Diddy, now Diddy, we know where he is. Show off your wealth. And it's like um, we we are we are we look just like you. We may not have the millions you have, but we look just like you, and your communities are in chaos, and it's not a priority. Courage is necessary. What I'm trying to do is pretty much um, sow this, you know, the spread the seed, and I'm hoping that tomorrow will be better for us, you know, as a Black uh, uh, nation, as a people. But poetry for me is my way of letting you know that there's something wrong with the world we live in. That it's not okay for you to not have access to clean water, basic stuff. You know, poetry for me is a way to wake this God-given notion of self you have that goes beyond money,
Mhm.
and hopefully you can see what I'm doing, what you've seen what I'm doing, and you know, like get involved so we can involve me in what you're doing, or if you're not doing what needs to be done for a better world, start doing it and get me involved, and let's get our communities going. Let's
Mhm.
let's be a force. Let's show the people who have control of power, because look at the world. Yes, the
Mhm.
white man wants to claim he has power, but look at what you've done. Asia is not well. Africa is not well. Europe is not well. The
Mhm.
Americans are not well. And guess who's in power? White men are in
Mhm.
power. White men are in power. And the world is chaotic. White men are in power. And the world is a living hell. You know, when black men were in power, we don't go and take. We've never, ever
Mhm.
enslaved people. We were enslaved by the Arabs and the Europeans. And as of
Mhm.
2024, we're still being hated because we are black. You know, but
Mhm.
it's in summary, I'm bridging gaps in our communities. There are a lot of gaps that need to be bridged, and especially informational gap, especially
Mhm.
uh, um, cultural gaps, especially generational gaps. I want you and I, as future fathers, future uncles, to transfer the right knowledge to the next generation, so they don't find themselves like dismantled or lost. You know, like they have a compass. That's what the white counterparts have been doing. They transfer
Mhm.
information, you know, but just closing those gaps that are not necessary within our Black, African, Caribbean, and African American communities.
Mhm. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that answer. I mean, um, I connected with you through actually, doing that. You're not just someone who's talking about these things. You're actually doing it. That's why I appreciate you and wanted you to come on and just talk about the work that you were doing. I think you left. I think you left a whole lot out though, man. Like I was trying to pry it out of you, man, but I don't know if you're being humble now or what. But it's all good, man. It's all good. Now you good because you know, like even with the protests, I think you could have won because I'm mad at myself. I've never been able to come out because there's a conflict. There's always something going on, right?
No worries, brother. I know you're there in spirit. No worries.
Yeah.
We do plenty. As you see, it's just getting started. It's warfare, but
yeah. I wish I could be in every city. Like even this week, down in DC, there's something going on in DC this Saturday. But in New York, you know, it's going to be Garvey celebration. So now I'm like, am I going to go to DC or am I going to go to New York? Curfest. I'm tripping. Yeah, Curfest. Say that again.
Let me know about GC because I'm planning on being on GC Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So maybe we can connect. Let me know.
Okay, I might be down there twice this week, but August 17th in DC is a Curve Fest for political prisoners. I actually think it's the first Curve Fest of the season because there's going to be several going on over the next couple of months in different cities. So DC is kicking it off this Saturday. So I want to support because we're organizing one in Philadelphia. And want to make sure, and it's Black August, right? Political prisoners. Garvey can wait, right? Another year. I'm always showing Garvey support. But so I'll let you know for sure.
Please send me the link too if I need to get a ticket, please.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Conrad, man, what's going on, bro?
Hey, man, you know we're live on arrival. Happy to be here with the good people. Appreciate all the good food we've been served today by our brother Jimra. You know, and to step away for a second, had things going on in the background. We good now.
No problem.
No doubt, man.
There's a lot more to talk about. Feel free. I'm at your service. You know, I wouldn't mind coming back.
Yeah. What about the folks you want to let them the people know where to find you at, where to find your poetry at? I was looking at one of them Jones. I was like, yo, this is fire, man. You talking about Africa. You know, this is some political, poetry. I thought it was gonna be some roses of red type stuff, man. But I was like,
read for the people. You want to read for the people?
Let me see if I can pull that John up real
but in
quick.
The meantime, yes, on Instagram at @like_minded_people_NYC 2022, no underscore between NYC and 2022 on Instagram. And I understand the power of media, honestly, and I'm trying to make it more serious and understand the world we live in, and with that said, I know you're laughing at the fact that I went on a dating show called Pop the Balloon of Find Love, and that was strategic, brother.
Hey Conrad, you should have seen this show, man. You ever see that Pop the Balloon, John?
Find Love.
I didn't see that. I heard something about it, man. He was on the show.
He was on there, man. He was on there. They was popping balloons left and right, bro.
It was strategic.
They call it Big Papa,
strategic. They have millions of views, and for me, I truly, brother Changa, I asked Ikemba, what is intelligence? And that's for me. I told him it's the application of solutions to the various problems we have. And I gave an example of we have billionaires and we still have people who don't have access to clean water. It's so stupid, But I went on that show very strategically. I mean, if my match was really aligned with everything that I do, I would have continued. But it was just one. Nobody knows about Chad. That was the first time I was able to say I'm from Chad. Like I was very strategic. Also, later on, like I gained at least 1,000 followers after that show was released. And now that more people know about Chad, a lot of people are Googling me, and thank God.
We gotta get Kalonji up on there, man. Hey.
It's the last thing I need to do.
Sure.
I don't even want to
It's
hear
very
nothing about that.
strategic. You know, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Love was not my first, reason, and I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, we as a people. There are so many gaps. I was telling Ikemba about. If there is anything, I would say we have so many gaps that need to be bridged: cultural gaps, informational gaps, generational gaps, and that's the problem with our communities. But going on that show was also part of my strategy to
Hmm.
let people know that there's an energy out there
Yeah.
that sees the BS that's going on, and any means necessary, and we will get there. If not today, we just have to be strategic about the next 200 years, making sure
No
that the next
doubt.
generation continues, because these white folks are not gonna let us free like that. We're gonna
Nah,
die
we're
for
gonna have
it, you
to.
know.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take that, man. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go on that joint. I'm gonna be like, Uhuru, free to Uhuru 3. Boom. All right. Now, what was we doing? I'm gonna read this poem real quick. I know we short on time, but
Yes,
this is a
sir.
short poem.
Okay.
So this is called African Center of Knowledge, and thank you for letting me read your joint, man. That these black women, men, and children will be one again. That Africa will rise again, and these people will be celebrated as one and the same. Say it again, children of Sheba, daughters of Shaka Zulu, are sons of blues. Whether Ngambe, Sarah, Hutu, Tutsi, Yoruba, Igbo, Bushman, Bantu, or Zulu, center of knowledge that I call Timbuktu. These dreamers and fighters once were manipulated and fought against each other as if old habits couldn't stand the new. Spectrum of courage and values that enable us to have a voice. Will you be our side when things go from golden to blue? Or by our side when things go from golden to blue? Cultivated are her children who remember this beauty of the Nile or a deserted Sahara full of clues. Simplicity has a complex nature. Black will always be beautiful, a blessing and bountiful. Gravity and the devil were doing everything to work against you. Brother Jimra, power to the people. Yeah, that was beautiful, brother.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Good stuff. Hey, man, I'm sure, when Jimra and Ikemba open up their dating show on the platform, we'll be checking them out. They'll be
they doing poetry,
popping collars, doing I don't know what's going on. This is the Rise Up Morning Show. I just woke up, y'all, and I woke up to Ikemba and Jimra, and they reading poetry. They talking about dating white women that are 700 pounds and over. It's all good, man. Whatever y'all into, this, man. Yo,
There's
I'm
a
just
line
saying,
I crossed. There's a line I crossed, man.
Listen, man. I'm just
right.
here hosting. That's all, bro.
Jokes until you said white woman.
Come on, man. Kimber already, Jimber already let the cat out the bag, brother. Why you acting like that?
Never catch me slipping.
He says the land of milk and honey.
Hey, I'm here in Philly, man. I gotta worry about Dr. Umar over my shoulder, man. So I can't. Yeah. What you doing over there?
You guys are hilarious, man.
I ain't even gonna joke about dude, man, because you know what I'm saying. That's a whole nother topic. But anyway, checking out the Rise Up Morning Show International. Our guest Jimra Kutang. Honored to have you on today, brother. Hope I said your name right. I don't want to say it like white folks say it.
Jimra,
cool, my man. Gotta make sure. We will be back tomorrow. We have a whole lot of special guests coming up this week. I know we got our brother coming on, Dr. Gerald Horn. He'll be on one of these days. We have some other folks that we will be confirming soon. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this platform. Also, let it be known that we will be buying our own servers because we want to make sure, because YouTube plays a lot of games around here, and we want to make sure that they don't pull the plug on us because we speak truth to power. Matter of fact, we speak truth and we are the power. Let me get that correct. And but we want to make sure that we stand as independent as possible because we know how they get down. Anyway, you're checking out the Rise Up Morning Show. This is Black Power Media. Till next time, stay on the right side of the barricades. Check us out Tuesday through Friday on Black Power TV, Black Power Media.
Blessings.
Anyway, be safe. We'll wrap you soon. Rise up, folks.
Thank you.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, where the battle is to love yourself and function in society, where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, mentally frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, with the babies in the bath and the stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces when it's on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Well, my inner me, really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven, like heaven's only in the sky. A chariot's a swinging, like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name, coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.